got my new pin on. It's Indiana in the morning, and it's WCCS. It moves, too. There we go. Mike Baker just scanned me this pin. This is nice. Our conversation this morning with Indiana County's, former commissioner and former coroner, Mike Baker, and also with Katelynn Metz, is brought to you this morning by Marcus & Mack. Marcus & Mack voted Best Personal Injury Law Firm, the Best of Indiana County contest. Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. And Mike and Katelynn are here today to talk to us on behalf of the Center for Organ Recovery and Education. How did I do, Mike?
You did just as good as always,
right?
Todd. Good as always. Good morning.
Good as always is a really relative term with me because I always forget this kind of thing. But Mike just handed me a pin, and the pin says Donate Life. And I can use it as a tie clasp or just as a general awareness type of thing because that's what you're doing when you are donating an organ.
That's exactly right, and that's the business that CORE is in, and organ, tissue, and cornea donation. So important, and there are about, 100,000 people in the United States waiting just for an organ.
Yeah.
And about 17 of those die every day waiting. And our job is to help facilitate donation.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why we're here today, to talk to the people from Indiana County and say, hey, sign up. Doesn't cost you anything. It'll take you 90 seconds online, and you will be a registered donor.
Yeah. Katelynn, there are probably a zillion stories of folks who have benefited from an organ donation.
Yeah, I think right here in this room, right? I mean, we have a lot of people who are benefiting, whether or not it's a transplant recipient, or even this is something that, I didn't even know until I started working at CORE about 10 years ago, but donor families themselves. When we're talking about how donation and transplant heal people, it heals recipients who've received this life-saving gift, but it also heals donor families who, in the worst moments of their lives, oftentimes, who Mike, came to know when you were coroner, it gives them hope. It gives them healing, knowing that their loved one is the final thing they did here on earth was to give to somebody else. I mean, that creates a legacy that families really hold on to. It's a club that people don't want to be part of, but they feel thankful that they had this opportunity, that their loved one is recognized as a hero, that their loved one is living on through somebody else. So it just is a whole lot of healing that goes on from donation.
Yeah.
Why not be part of it?
Yeah, probably every family has been touched in some way or another, or at least, Mike, they know people who have received an organ transplant. My brother got a kidney from my brother 34 years ago.
Wow.
And both are still functioning well, and that's a wonderful, wonderful thing if you can give the gift of life and still be among the living. But for those who lose their lives in an accident or through some other way, the chance for them to help somebody else, it's invaluable, isn't it?
Absolutely, it is. It's a gift that you can't really put any monetary value on it. It is something you're just blessing someone else by, donating something that they could never repay you for.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned the ease with which people can become a part of this whole process. What does it involve?
All it involves, for example, go to the CORE website.
Yep.
core.org. Go to the top of the page and click the green register button, fill out a couple of fields. It'll take you less than a minute and a half.
Yeah.
And you'll be registered as a donor.
That is CORE.
Yes.
Yep.
Correct. Tell me about CORE as a whole.
Well, so CORE is an organ procurement organization, which is a really long word, which basically means we facilitate organ transplants. So when you're thinking about donors and recipients, every state has a nonprofit organization that is the link between those two groups. So in the United States, there are 56 OPOs. In Pennsylvania, we have 2. CORE represents the western half. And what we're doing is we're linking up people who are donors, their families, with the people who are waiting for a life-saving transplant. And we're linking them up in a lot of ways beforehand because we're overseeing that registry. We're out at the DMVs. We're working with PennDOT. We're coming on TV shows like this where we're encouraging people to register. We're working during the donation process where we have our grief counselors on site working with the donor families during the donation process. We have our clinical and medical staff who are doing all of the donation medical management. We have all of our recovery staff. Those are the people that you often see in the TV shows with the coolers, going on a private jet with the plane, doing all of that kind of stuff. And, when you think about donation, it's like a two-sided coin, and there's the donation side on one side and then the transplant side on the other. And the transplant side is really in the hospital. So CORE is on the donation side, making those organs available for transplant and facilitating the transplant so that those organs can go to, the people who need them. And then we're also there for the donor families, linking them up with recipients afterwards. So, say for instance, you do lose somebody close to you, or you do receive an organ and you want to reach out to either the person's family who gave you that gift, or to the person, or say thank you. CORE helps facilitate that process as well, which is always a really incredible thing to witness, to be there when a donor family meets the recipient of their loved one's organ. I mean, there is nothing like that. I took my husband to go see a mom who met the heart recipient of her son. A couple of months ago. He was a police officer, and her son was only 21. And my husband was with me, and when we were leaving, he said, "I can't believe you get to see that. I can't believe that you get to witness that as part of your job." And it's so true, because it is the most powerful thing to be able to give that gift of life to somebody, and to see the connection and the hope and the healing that it brings both sides is just, we're just so privileged at CORE to be able to do what we do. It's just such an honor every day.
Mike, there was a movie out a month or so ago about the family down in, I can't remember what state it was. The little girl needed a transplant. Everybody in the whole community came together, and this is 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And between that time and now, the technology has changed. So much has changed about the whole idea of organ transplantation, organ donation. But that really drove home the point of what a gift life really is, and how we can be participants in that. I imagine that movie helped a lot of folks.
I think it would help to convince a lot of folks of the general worth of getting involved and doing for the community. I can't imagine 30 years ago the technology then compared to the technology today. It's a quantum leap. But just to know that kind of thing happens and motivates a community. And that's kind of why we're here today. We're here to motivate this community. There's nothing more than that CORE values than its donor families. Yes. We have a very comprehensive program of taking care of people who have seen their way to offer life to someone else. And we like to take care of them. We like to make sure that they are well cared for and followed up with, and constantly, we're kind of in a constant contact with them for better than a year at least.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then every year, since we have both the western half of Pennsylvania and pretty much all of West Virginia in our designated area, we do what we call a special place. And that is, I think it's June and September.
Yep.
In June, we do one in Pittsburgh, and that's where we bring donor families together. And there's some recipient families there, too. And our board, we all get together, and we celebrate the fact that they have given these ultimate gifts. Yeah. And we see people hook up with other people in ways that are like, you were involved with my son receiving a transplant. Yeah. And then we do the same thing in September in Charleston, West Virginia, for our West Virginia donors. Yeah. And it is absolutely, I mean, there's thousands of people that attend those events.
Katelynn, that must be the most emotional day of the entire
Oh my gosh,
year.
it is really something. In fact, I now take the Monday off as a time off day, like a vacation day, because it is so emotional that I need a day to just reflect on everything I've witnessed, to, when we're putting together that ceremony for those families, just what Mike said, our donor families mean the world to us. Our CEO is a many times over organ donor family. We all live what we're saying. I mean, we're all registered donors. My kids are registered donors in their licenses. And so in the lead up to that, we make special videos for each one of them. We make, special giveaways that are very personalized with their loved one. And so it's sort of a surreal feeling. I'm walking around and our whole team has spent so many hours doing these personalized things for each one of these families. They don't know who we are necessarily, but I know every single one of them and who their loved one is. And so that day afterwards, it's just, you got to take a second to reflect on, I mean, the good that we did, that our work did in the last year, and really the privilege of being able to be with those organ donors. Last year, CORE, we facilitated almost 1,000 life-saving organ transplants. And we have, 404 organ donors last year, but then we have 840 cornea donors. So, there's a difference between being an organ donor and a cornea donor. We also had almost 1,500 tissue donors. So these are thousands and thousands of people whose loved ones were able to contribute. When we talk about tissue and cornea donation, I'm glad that Mike had brought that up earlier. Those are incredible gifts that you don't see as much of. It's not listening to somebody's heart, but you are giving people sight. I mean, you are giving sight to two people who can't see. There are so many procedures out there. You can't, burn victims, burn survivors they become because of donated tissue, If you have a prosthetic, need for a prosthetic, you need donor tissue in order to regain mobility. Even women undergoing double mastectomy after breast cancer, they need the gifts from a tissue donor in order to have the reconstructive surgery. I mean, these gifts are so incredible. That's why I just hope that everybody, if they're hearing us today, goes home tonight at the dinner table, wherever, or in front of the TV, whatever you're doing with those people around you, you talk about organ donation.
Yeah. All right. So, Mike, after they have that conversation that Katelynn is saying we should be having, what should they do if they decide, we're not organ donors now, but we want to be?
Well, like I said, they can go out on the CORE website, core.org, sign up online. They can do it at the DMV when you get your driver's license renewed, or you don't even have to be getting it renewed. You can just walk in there and do it.
Okay.
And they'll take care of it for you. And there are a multitude of different ways. And there's some other things that we're trying to do. Like in West Virginia, if you get a hunting license or a fishing license, they ask you that if you want to be an organ and tissue or cornea donor.
Yeah.
We'd like to have that here in Pennsylvania, too. That's going to take some legislative action. And we're working on that, but we would like to see that happen here as well.
All right, we're going to be running out of time here shortly, so let's give folks the website again. It's core.org, and that's CORE.
Yes. Yep.
And all kinds of information there, I would assume, that folks can learn about organ donation, learn about the transplant procedure in a limited way. That obviously you're not going to get into the nuts and bolts of it. But it's, people probably, Katelynn, are very surprised by what can be donated. And
who can donate? We have a 95-year-old organ donor 2 years ago, the oldest organ donor in history, World War II veteran, who saved the life after he died as an organ donor. Wow. I mean, don't count yourself out.
Yeah, there was a liver donation from him to a woman, and it was successful transplant. He was 95. Imagine that. Amazing. When people say, well, I'm too old, you're not.
You are not too old to become an organ donor. It's a wonderful way to end our conversation here this morning.
Can I end it with just one more thing?
Yes, you can.
I just wanted to say that I probably will not be here next year to talk about this because this is my last year on the CORE board.
No.
I've been there for 9 years now.
We love him. He's such a support. He does so much, and he cares so much about our donor families.
Yeah,
they mean a lot.
You'll be back, Mike. Trust me.
Okay.
I'll get you back.
I'll be happy.
I'll get you back. Just about 26 minutes after 9 o'clock, it is the voice of Indiana County. It's WCCS 101.1 FM, AM 1160, WCCSradio.com, core.org. Sports brought to you by S&T Bank, People Forward Banking.
Hi, I'm Garrett Greek, your local mortgage banker at S&T Bank. We're all ready to welcome spring. Let us help welcome you into the home of your dreams.